Hi there and welcome back to my channel. Video of today is a die-cast review. Since some time I've started this new series in my channel about my personal review about the die-cast that you can find on the market, and because this happened because I'm mostly interested in stuff in 1/24 scale, and in the last few years we had quite a bit of new interesting release by companies. Back in time it was mostly just a matter between, for what about, was my story when I collected them when I was a kid, was about Burago and polisbil cars. They were not bad at all. I was so lucky to get in touch with the owners of the company, being a dealer for them, one of my very first jobs. And basically now indeed we have these new Chinese companies making handmade stuff, because every time that you buy these models, you have to remember that somewhere in the planet there is somebody assembling the kit for you by hand. This is not stuff made by machinery, it is just stuff that is made by hand, so everything is anyway handmade. Of course, so when I had to deal with some Chinese company producing this stuff, depends also how much are you willing to pay for these kind of models, because if you are in the idea to spend for example $50, you have to remember that the stuff that you pay $50 have been paid by the dealer $25, by his own dealer $12, and it starts usually from neither $1 in the beginning. So depending really for the quality that you are willing to pay about this stuff. In the recent few years then we had an incredibly amount of very nice new subjects and model arriving on the market. And the one of this new video is something very interesting. It's a die-cast that I collect like nearly all other die-casts that I bought and I made review about. It's about models that I will probably never build up by myself, not only because there is not the model sometimes. About this Volvo there is now the model, but sometimes it's street cars or is subjects that I don't think that I want to spend my time in assembling them, because I prefer to build up racing cars and so on. So I'm more busy in doing other stuff than in just build up by hands by myself this model. So I just want to see the shape, I just want to see how they look, and that's why I take this stuff. So the model in this new video is about the Volvo 240. Is the police car, like in Sweden they say polisbil, and it's extremely nice. I think it was a car that probably they had in the service in the middle 80s. This Volvo model was what they call worldwide the brick. It was famous because the shape really looked like a brick, a big brick. So it was a car that some of my relatives had in the family, and I also remember that I drove it. It was extremely heavy, famous worldwide. It was a symbol of Volvo around the world, and it was extremely interesting because this is the version used by the svensk police. Two words about the svensk police. I hope they will never hear my words. It's as many of you know, I live mostly in Sweden and then in Italy right now. My wife is from there, and we live in the West Coast. So for me, it's a lovely place. The Swedish police is extremely interesting corp. I'm not so much inside cop cars and so, but the Swedish police really deserve it because they are some of the best guys ever in the world. You look at them today, talking of the police that I crossed during my experience in 20 years of Sweden. They are always in every condition, they are always willing to help people. It's one of the few countries where you really, when you cross cops, you know that if you want to have trouble with such cops, you have to create the problem. So it's not them making the problem, really. They helped me really, really millions of time in fixing stuff, in giving me tips. It's really very, very good people. It's really very nice to have this corp up there in Sweden, because they really do more than their job. It's really serious. They are really wonderful persons, and there's also some kind of cops that you will never argument, because they appeal. If you do know about them, you see usually these cops that they are quite looking like soldiers. The uniform is differently from Italy. For example, in Italy they look incredibly elegant, and they can be extremely brutal. That is typical from this kind of Mediterranean countries. Instead, in Sweden, for example, the cop look like the ultimate soldiers, and they are extremely kindly and extremely willing to help people, really to help people. So Despite in every place you can find people that say police is not good, the cops is not good, fuck the cop, fuck the police, whatever. Instead, no, I can say that for my personal experience, the police in Sweden was just extremely helpful. So in my collection, I wanted to have at least one of these Volvo. You know, when I was searching around, I see that Welly, this is the next company is basically the Welly diecast, the Chinese Welly diecast. They made this Volvo in different version. I think that there is the Dutch police, Dutch police, yeah, not fireman. I think it's just Dutch police and Norwegian politi. Norwegian politi is the one with the black top and the black bonnet and trunk, you know. But politi is Norwegian, so despite if Norway is another wonderful place of my Nordic countries, I am effectively more attracted by the svensk police. So that's it. The model is surely made, I think, after a 3D design because it's extremely precise. The shape is absolutely well taken. This was a car that I anyway planned to build up at 240 because this was the one of the first DTM car. Volvo was incredible because like everything in Sweden is fantastic, you know. They were able to produce some of the most boring car ever to drive, and anyway there was some version like the version that win the BTCC, the stuff that was the beginning of the DTM, you know, something that lately became in the late 80s became the DTM, but they win for 1 year with the Nordica car, the Tourist Championship. So the car was absolutely a well done chassis and with a incredibly more powerful engine. The structure of a Volvo, I'm lucky to own a Volvo that I call gamla skrotbil. That means very old crap car, not because it's crap in the quality, but just because it's parked outside in the elements. So it's really a proof that in extreme Scandinavian condition you need something that have to be extremely reliable. You know, my Volvo is quite a little bit rusty, but you know, half turn of the key and she works. It's more or less in the same line of my trucks, of the Buffone truck and the Chinese 6 series, you know, it's the same stuff, despite the car is 15 years ago old, so it's old, but not too old, you know. And the Volvo, they used to say real Volvo never die, you know, and also still today, it is possible to find several, I have to admit, Volvo 240 perfectly running around. There is also some kids that use the car like a kind of experiment version to make huge turbos under the bonnet, so they do the most amazing conversion ever on this car. The car is extremely heavy, is extremely seems like a tank, really. It's very heavy vehicle. It's something that, you know, they always had after the tragedy of Ronnie Peterson in Monza 1978, the Volvo wanted absolutely to focus, being a Swedish company, and Peterson was a Swede too. They want to concentrate themselves about the safety. So every time that you drive a Volvo, of course you have to consider the Volvo of the period where she had been produced. It's extremely safe. Is a vehicle that is really something that if something happens, probably you are in the best seat ever on the road. And I also say this also driving a big SUV. I mean, the Volvo is anyway the Volvo, so it's not so sure that you have major issues if you are involved in a bad accident driving a Volvo, you know. I think the only mistake of the model, you know, I understand it because this is a model that might cost $20. Is something that right now is extremely affordable. So it's really something that I think neither a set of wheels cost $20 today, you know. I think there is just a mistake in the edition because in the picture that I seen from the 80s, the real svenska polisbil have a different felgare, so different rims, and the wheels, this is just the wheels of the standard ordinary sedan, civilian sedan vehicle. The decal finishing is absolutely well done because it is not a decal but it is a tampo, like it's now common from these kind of models, you know. It's basically a toy, but it's really well done. They also, as you can see there, if you can, let me see if I can focus over there, yeah, there you can see the typical terrible head protection that Volvo had for safety, you know. This was something that if you ever drove a Volvo of this year, you will remember that terrible stuff that used to stuck in the back of your head when you drive, but it was made for safety because it was made to protect the neck of the driver and the passenger in the passenger seat while you was driving if you get T-boned by another vehicle, you know. Absolutely well done. I think really despite the subject is something that you really have to love this kind of models. Not so many probably love the bricks. I do. And it's anyway worth it, you know. It's Svenska Police, and I really wanted to have this. I place it in the same level of the Gallardo Polizia, that is more exotic, that we have here in Italy for transportation of organs for surgeries and so on. And nothing more to say, you know, absolutely well done. $20, really well spent. I love the model. I love Volvo, I love Sweden, so it was impossible for me to miss this subject. That's it, a very nice one, deeply suggested if you want to have another police car in the collection. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.